Steven, when's it going to be summer?
It is.
Doesn't feel like it, my friend. It is gloomy out. We got some June gloom going on.
Who cares?
What do you
It's
mean, who
summer.
cares?
It's summer.
It's not summer when I'm walking outside and people are fucking wearing burkas and parkas and all a bunch of bundled up clothes.
People are wearing burkas and parkas.
When you walk around Lake Merritt, yes. In the morning, yeah, absolutely.
It's the morning time, though.
No, it should be 75. Like, I don't know. To me, it just feels like it'll warm up by next week when we get into 4th of July weekend. But the weather has been non-summer like.
Well, apparently it's going to turn into a real heat wave.
That's what I want.
Do
But then
you?
well, it's kind of a yin and yang thing. Like I want it to be hot, so I could just walk outside in shorts and not have to put pants on because I hate putting on pants.
Mhm.
But in Oakland, in a lot of places, especially in the East Bay, once it gets hot and once people are cranking their ACs, then we get blackouts, which is kind of the bad part of it being hot.
So you're willing to sacrifice June gloom to get a blackout due to heat?
As long as it's better weather. I mean, how is it hot by? I mean, like you and me live in the same, well, kind of the same area in the East Bay, but is it hot? Is it warming up by you at all?
It's beautiful. It's warming up.
Nah, not enough.
Okay, fine. Wow, what a way to start. Jesus.
It just doesn't feel like summer yet. Well, welcome everybody. Just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. Stephen is back from a whale's vagina, old Saint Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And how was the weather down there?
It's kind of the same.
Really? Gloomy?
Too hot. Although, like, let me see if we can show it. I can't really show it, but I got a pretty bad sunburn on my shoulder. Although Jesse got it way worse. It was
rookies.
Yeah, well, it's not her fault. It's on her back in the areas that I was supposed to do. And
so it was your fault.
So it was my fault. She looks like a lobster right now. Like a total lobster. I got no other way to describe it.
Does she look like the scrawny Wendy's guy from the commercial?
No, not that bad. But she's got like a giant X on her back because that's the way that her top for the bathing suit was shaped. So you could see everywhere that I didn't spray. You know, it's right before we go to the beach. We only took one beach day, but right before we go, it's just, oh yeah, babe, you're good. No, you're fine. Yeah, totally. I got you. I got everything. Then we come back and it's just completely red, and she's still suffering from the effects of said sunburn.
Well, I mean, yeah, that'll happen. But you said it wasn't that hot, but still managed to get.
It wasn't. It got to, I don't know. I'd say around the 70s, low 70s, low to mid, but it's still on the beach, and that's when the sun's
yeah.
And you're just laying with. I mean, we were just laying there. We really weren't doing much. It was a totally relaxed vacation. So yeah, it was decent enough, I'd say.
Well, back in my younger days, Stephen, I didn't need sunscreen because I had nice olive skin for a young Italian boy, and for some reason I have gone pasty, and I can't really go without sunscreen, as you know from the Warriors parade where I had to go to the hospital. But now that I'm a beautiful bald man, I don't go anywhere without sunscreen.
Yeah,
so I always prepare.
As you shouldn't. That sunburn was about as bad as I've seen it. Your face.
It was bad.
It was terrible.
Not bad enough for the doctor, where he saw me and he goes, "You came into the hospital for this?"
Yeah.
So what was the reason you were in San Diego? I didn't even ask you. Music festival?
It's my birthday, Derek.
What?
Yeah.
Which day?
Friday?
Son of a bitch. Why didn't you say anything?
Why would I? What am I going to say? Hey, Derek.
That's true. That's true. I mean, why?
How about you ask me, why are you in San Diego in the first place? You ever think about that? Huh?
Well, knowing you, I usually just assume that it would be a music festival. But at first, I didn't put two and two together because initially you and I were supposed to do a show on the weekend, and then you texted me back saying, "I'm terrible at planning shit. I forgot that I'm going to be in San Diego." So which made me believe that it must not have been that important of a trip. And yeah, I should remember this because we went out on your birthday a couple years ago in Walnut Creek. Yeah, my bad. Steven, happy birthday.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Yeah.
That though, like people are like, oh, it's your birthday. Why didn't you say anything? Well, no one wants to be that asshole. It's like, hey, everybody, it's my birthday. You should say something to me.
If you were on Instagram though, you would have seen it. Jesse made a very nice post, collage of different photos from our time.
I should be a better friend to know that your birthday is taking place, and I don't need to go on social media to know it.
You're no John Curley. You are no John Curley.
John Curley is very good at remembering people's birthdays.
Yeah. Can I just say something about?
So wait a minute. Hold on. Wait. We're downplaying this.
What?
You're in the same camp as me now, and Jesse.
Yeah.
You're dirty 30 now.
I'm 30.
How's it feel?
It feels the same.
But a little depressing.
It is a little bit. I feel like I gotta actually start growing up now. Like legitimately,
like getting married.
Like getting married.
Well, there you go. I mean, you checked everything off the list.
Got that on the way. Still got to grow up in terms of the food that I eat. Because as I told you, I just did a bunch of grocery shopping, but I might go to In-N-Out later just because.
See, that's the thing. You like not to dive too deep, but roughly how much did you pay for said groceries? In the hundreds, 200s?
No. Yeah, in the hundreds. I'd say it was about a solid in total, because I went separately to get the produce. I'd say in total it was about $110 trip.
And where are you going to Walnut Creek, just so I know?
Went to Trader Joe's the other day, and then went to get the produce from Sprouts, because to be honest, I'm not a big fan of the Trader Joe's produce, even though it's cheap. Went to Sprouts instead.
How's Trader Joe's butcher shop or meat department?
I don't think they have a butcher shop, do they? I don't think they have a butcher shop.
Yeah, so where do you go to get your meat then?
I got the meat from there. You know what I'm doing? This is where I realized like I'm getting older. I started, and this is the first time I did this. I did this today when I got home. I got the bone-in chicken thighs. Normally I get the skinless, boneless, and I just pay extra for that. But I got the bone-in, skin on, and you know what I did? I deboned it.
Yourself? Wow, that's a grown-up move.
Yeah.
There you go. You see, 30 and taking bones out.
You want to know how else I know I'm getting older too? Because San Diego was great. Had an amazing time. Glad I went. Glad we went, me and Jesse. Got an Airbnb, nice little place in Ocean Beach. If you've ever been there, Ocean Beach is awesome. And sorry, Ernie, Lenardi's is a little too overpriced for my liking. I apologize. Sorry to Gary St. Jean.
Yeah, I'm about to say, if anyone's at Lenardi's all the time, it's my man Saintly.
Didn't mean to offend him, but we went to a Padres game on the birthday, which was great.
Nationals?
Yeah. And Padres won, I think, 13-1. It was pretty cool. But Jesse,
was it on that Friday?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, now I remember when your birthday date is, and I believe it was 13-3. I don't know why I know that score, but I think it was that.
Might have been.
Yeah.
I stopped paying attention after a while because the Padres are just kicking their ass. But great stadium, great food, all that. It's right next to the Gaslamp District.
Yep, great spot.
Well, see, we were walking to Tacos El Gordo to get the tacos because they're amazing. If you ever heard of Tacos El Gordo, they're like the most popular thing in San Diego. They had one in the Gaslamp, which I just learned about. So we wanted to
translates to tacos the fat.
Yes, it does. So we went to the Gaslamp District, and I just like looked around, and it was so crowded, and there's just a bunch of 20-somethings who are running around just drunk out of their mind, not knowing where they're going or why they're going, except for they're doing it. They're getting drunk and going to the Gaslamp District with no aim, no direction. Like, I'm just
look at you old crotchety son of a bitch. You're looking down on those people.
I know, right? I'm like, what are you guys?
Welcome to my world.
You know, it's just like you're walking by, you're all dressed up. Like, where are you going? What do you plan on doing tonight? Do you just is your only purpose to potentially with a 20% chance try and get laid? Other than that, like, I've realized I've got my certain you grow up and you learn what you like. You know what I mean? And it seems like these people just had no sense of what they were doing or why they were doing it, except for, hey, maybe this place is fun to get drunk. It's like, dude, figure it out.
Well, Steven, while I may not enjoy doing those things all the time now, there was a point where you and I were doing that quite frequently.
Absolutely. I mean, it's what we were doing in Walnut Creek for my birthday.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, like, that's where I've moved on, and like, all right,
So
I'm on to the next phase of my life now.
you texted me yesterday saying we should at some point on the podcast talk about what we've learned about ourselves at the halfway point of the year.
Yeah.
So is that what you learned about yourself? Is that you want to be an old man now and just stay at home and not do those things anymore?
I have learned that I would much rather, if given the choice, go out to a very well populated area that's full of people, full of a bunch of just drunk fools who don't know how to actually handle their alcohol. I would much rather stay in an apartment somewhere, maybe a house, and watch a movie and drink there, because Jesse and I got the tacos, went back, watched The Hangover, and then I think another movie after that. I think actually you inspired me. Kicking and Screaming was put on after that.
There you go.
And we had a fantastic night. I didn't have any regrets about, even wanting to go out. So yeah, that's where I guess I've learned that about myself, Derek, in the first 6 months of 2023.
Hey, I'm kind of right there with you, except you kind of have you're in a more comfortable stage of your life. Like everyone's got that 20% that they may get laid. You probably have like a good 90%.
I don't know if it's that number anymore.
I'm just saying, like, yeah, I would like to do those things, just stay at home and watch The Hangover, Kicking and Screaming. But then I get a text from Rick Tittle saying he's in Oakland. I'm like, well, what else am I doing? So I might as well do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, but at least Rick knows what he likes to. You know what I mean? It's those groups that just have zero, just direction.
Zero fucks.
Yeah, just like no, not a. And I respect it. I used to be that way too, but like, I don't know. There's just people out there that just I look at them, I just get pissed. What are you doing? You know what I mean,
get a job, Grouch.
Yeah, not even get a job. I bet you some of these people have higher paying jobs than I do, but it's like, just
take some responsibility, guys.
Figure it out. Like, get your life together. Honestly.
Well, not all of us are, as well off as you, Steven. I will tell you what I've learned about myself in the past year later in the podcast. But let's get to what people want to talk about or want to hear about from you, Steven. You weren't on the last podcast.
Mm-hmm.
The Ernies say I ignored them. I didn't ignore you guys. It was just a lot going on. So Alex Scott filled in.
Yeah.
And we reacted to the incredible shocking news that Chris Paul had been traded to the Golden State Warriors for Jordan Poole. And I read your text, Steven, and you gave me the two things that came to your mind. You said, holy shit, but you kind of understand it, but also don't really agree with it. So give me your thoughts and feelings while I clear my throat for some reason while it's choking on me. Chris Paul to the Warriors, your thoughts?
Well, no, I listened to the episode, and I kind of feel about, and the thing that I gathered from both of you guys is you're kind of indifferent about it. And I'm the same way too. And I don't know how anyone can be a Warrior fan and look at this trade and just be 100%, 1000% okay with the move. I'm willing to hear all the reasons as to why it's a great move, and I can actually agree with it and get on board. But it's Chris Paul to the Warriors. Like, what the hell, man? This was their arch nemesis, dude. like this, like you made the comparison to LeBron. Like, it seemed like, you said LeBron's like the number one rival. Yeah, because they met in the finals like 4 every 5 years or whatever. But it feels like fans have like this personal, vengeance, I guess. I don't know. They want vengeance against Chris Paul. It's like Chris Paul's that number one dude. He managed to surpass James Harden on the Rockets as like the most hated guy on the court during the playoffs at the
Ooh,
time.
not for me. I still hate James Harden.
Yeah. Yeah. But overall, like after a few days to reflect on it, I understand the move. Jordan Poole, like something also what happened like with Jordan Poole, I think there's stuff behind closed doors that we can't even begin to understand. It's more than it's more than just, hey, this guy had an off year and the Warriors just are done with him and they don't
Yeah.
think that he can develop into a star that can help a championship team. There had to have been something that happened that we don't know anything about. That I say this every time there's a big move that happens in the Bay Area, but come on, Anthony Slater, come on, Sam Amick, come on, the Athletic people, do some investigative work, investigative journalism. I'm telling other people to do work. I'm not going to do it myself. Do some investigative journalism and figure out what happened there, because there had to have been something that besides just, well, it's, to clear salary space and stay under the luxury tax and potentially get the mid-level exception, go against the new CBA rules, all that. So there has to be something that happened there. And I got to be honest, though, I'm looking forward to the season a little more now than I was originally if the team were to remain the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I like how you're telling everybody, like all the Bay Area reporters out there, to get working. Come on,
Yes.
Art Spander, get your ass moving and get the story out there.
I'm just saying, there's always some.
Oh, we love you, Art.
There's always some sort of piece that comes out that says like inside the, like the Aaron Judge stuff.
Well,
Buster Olney did that piece on ESPN Plus. Like there's always something that goes on that gets revealed later on in the season.
Can I give you my theory? And it really doesn't take that much investigative journalism to figure it out. Everyone has seen that video of, I guess it was during the playoffs between the Warriors and Kings, where Jordan Poole and Steph Curry are coming to the bench, and Jordan Poole is getting dabbed up by Draymond Green, and Jordan Poole pushes him to the side.
Right.
Then Steph Curry walks over to him, shaking his head, and it's pretty clear Steph is like, we're not doing that right now. He is your teammate. He is a veteran on this team. I understand that you guys have beef, but you need to get past that right now. We need to win this playoff game. You need to get focused, and don't be rude like that. That's what I think happened. I think that it was initially everyone was on Jordan Poole's side when Draymond Green clocked him. And you and I were talking about this a year ago, Stephen, before the punch. This time last year, you and I were talking about how I believe Draymond Green is not going to come back to the Warriors. This was it. And we heard Joe Lacob on his podcast, or not his podcast, but an interview with Tim Kawakami saying, hey, we're going to have some tough decisions to make, okay? So we can't play everybody. And then Draymond went on his podcast and was talking about Kevin Durant, and he related it back to himself and saying, sometimes you got to make business moves. My option date is this day. Hopefully it's a good day. And at the time, the Warriors chose Jordan Poole over Draymond Green. And was that what ignited the punch? I believe yes. And I don't know what Jordan Poole said to Draymond Green to get him to that point, but it was pretty clear that Draymond Green could live with Andrew Wiggins getting his contract and maybe not so much Jordan Poole getting his. Regardless, Steve Kerr said that was the biggest thing that tore apart our team in the years that he's been there. And Steph Curry came out and said that, pretty much scolded Draymond for what he did. I think everybody on the team pretty much did. And there are some reports that that's why the road record was so bad, is because they would go on the road and it would be awkward as hell. Not like, when they were home, they could all go back to their homes, to their families, and everything was fine. But when they were on the road and there was the awkward, elephant in the room of Draymond Green punching his teammate, then all of them wanted to get away from each other. So there wasn't that camaraderie, there wasn't that chemistry. But after a while, sometimes you just got to let things go. So to me, it seems that Jordan Poole did not want to forgive Draymond, did not want to make amends, did not want to hear him during games, did not want to do anything with him, to be honest. And then Steph Curry and the other guys on the team noticed and kind of told him at some point you need to get over it. And his play did not match his actions. And I think especially this move was made because that series against the Lakers, I forget which game it was, but I think it was when they were down 3-1. Jordan Poole makes that comment to Kareth Burke. I don't know exactly verbatim off the top of my head, but it was along the lines of, I'm not getting my playing time. That's why I'm not playing well.
Right.
Well, Steve Kerr is going to be like, shut up. Like
Yeah.
Steve's nice to the media and everything, but I'm sure behind closed doors, he's not having it with him. He's not having it with John the Kaminga. He's not having it with James Wiseman. So I think Steph Curry, and we'll read his comments a little bit here that he said to Anthony Slater today. I think that Steph Curry tried to make peacemaker between Draymond Green and Jordan Poole, and then when Jordan Poole was not receptive and his play was not matching that up, that's when Steph was like, dude, you got to move on or else we're moving you out. And that's what happened.
Yeah, I can see all of that happening, and maybe there was a drop in that work ethic that was talked about so much with his third year, where it's just this dude worked his ass off to get where he's at. And then this year, that probably went on the decline too. What they were just seeing in practice, they could probably just see a dejected Poole who didn't want to be here anymore. Whereas Draymond clearly still put the team first as opposed to himself. And that probably put them over the top. And then it also helps, though, to, the fact that Poole was going to be getting paid $32 million per year. And honestly, they probably would have regretted that contract if they would have held on to it. If Poole wasn't going to get traded now, it would have probably been at some point in the near future had he had just a couple of literal off seasons. But I just still can't believe that they got Chris Paul in return. Like, I can't like, and it's not like he's replacing Jordan Poole. If anything, I think this means more minutes for Moses Moody coming off the bench next year. I think trading Patrick Baldwin Jr. Instills their faith a little bit more in Jonathan Kuminga, even though Baldwin wasn't getting any playing time at all. But just to trade away a guy who has the types of traits that you'd want, like a wing guy who could potentially be a 3-and-D player, can knock down the three and play a little defense. Maybe I think that showed their faith there a little bit in Kuminga, not fully, not as much as Moses Moody in what he can do on the bench. But look, man, I think Jordan Poole is going to go to the Wizards. He's probably, like everyone is saying, and like I don't really have. That's the only problem I had coming into this podcast. I wanted to bring in like a new angle, and really, I don't think there's much of a new angle here. I think it's just Poole's going to go to the Wizards. He's just going to be a totally streaky player, or he'll take it upon himself to carry the team. I mean, I'm just reading that article from Slater earlier today. Like, it looks like he, when he was talking with the Wizards beat reporter, it looks like Poole is texting the rookies. He's basically trying to be a leader already. So I wouldn't be surprised if he has success with the Wizards. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't win another championship again. But then in the Warriors side with Chris Paul, I don't know what to expect. I know the player that they're getting.
Well, do you think this makes them better?
Ultimately, yeah.
For the here and now or the long-term future?
For the long term, and the here and now. Like, if Chris Paul can stay healthy, I don't know what happened with Phoenix this last year, but if Paul can stay healthy, I could absolutely see him being I could see him making a lot of positive contributions off the bench that Poole wasn't able to.
There's the key. What's his role?
Who, Poole?
Yeah, no, Chris Paul.
Well, Chris Paul, it's going to be running point for one and dishing the ball out to wherever he can get it and keep the ball moving, and try to also slow the game down. Give him a little something different in terms of pace when the second unit comes in.
That's something I worry about, but okay. But you envision him being Steph Curry's backup.
Yeah.
Okay. I brought this up last podcast, and it occurred first on our show with Tolbert and Copes, and I know that Mark Spears said it again today on Murph and Mac. And he keeps saying that Chris Paul is going to start. I respect Mark Spears a ton, but I do not believe that for a second. I believe that Chris Paul is telling him that, or his agent is telling him that. I don't think that it would be smart whatsoever to have Chris Paul in the starting lineup And have Kevon Looney come off the bench and have Draymond Green play the 5 every night. You don't need to do that. I think this is I think it's not a perfect move, but it's a good move in having Chris Paul come off the bench because that's what you need with Jordan Poole leaving. You need a good scorer off the bench, and that's the point that we are with Chris Paul in his career. He's 38 years old. He'll give you maybe 12 points off the bench, and that's what we're getting. And he needs to realize that. This whole thing of telling Mark Spears, I'm starting, not on this team, man. Not with Steve Kerr, who told Andre Iguodala you're coming off the bench, or David Lee you're coming off the bench. No.
How would anyone know who's starting right now?
Well, exactly. Like that's the thing too. Is like I hear Mark and he respects the players and he's like, well, Chris Paul has never come off the bench his entire career. Yeah. Well, you know what? He's 38 years old now. He's on a championship winning team. So if he wants to play ball, he's going to have to play this role. It makes zero sense to me, and they would be super small, night in and night out. They need size. That's the one thing they need to address too, this in the free agency. And I don't know, we could talk about some hypotheticals here, but they're playing in a Western Conference that has all the names, Jokic, and of course, if they ever get to the finals again, they'll play the Embiids, they'll play the Giannis's, and even in the series against the Lakers, they were totally just out physicaled by Anthony Davis and their big guys. So that's what they need to do. They need to address the center position this offseason, and having Chris Paul start does not help them.
No, I fully see him coming off the bench. Sorry, Jessie just walked in and she's distracting me.
With her sunburn?
Yeah, she's pointing at her sunburn and giving me the middle finger. Jerk.
Me?
Yes. So you're right. They do need to get bigger, but I think this is where Steve Kerr has to come into play, though. This is where he's going to have to be the one that figures out the lineups. It's not going to be just as easy as just, you put Chris Paul here. This is going to be his rotation. It's solely going to be based on matchups, I think. I think some games you're going to get him starting. Some you're going to get him coming off the bench. That's what I think. If anything we've learned from Kerr, it's that it's all based on matchups. So yeah. I think that if he feels Paul is going to be right to start against, I don't know, the Grizzlies, who are going to be without Ja Morant for the first 25 games, and they don't have a point guard, maybe Chris Paul can take advantage there. I don't know. But, I think it will be mostly bench play, though, for him. And I don't think he's going to be getting, I don't know how many minutes a game. But if anything, we know that the Warriors, just their brass, they do not like to overexert their players. They like to save them they like to save them during the regular season, be as healthy as they could be, get into the playoffs, and then go from there. Because I heard you and Alex talking about the Nuggets and, how on paper they're the best team going into next year. And you guys are absolutely right. But it also matters at the end of the year. Who's most healthy come April? That's where the Warriors were in 2022. That's why they were able to get that championship, is because they were the most healthy team, even though they didn't start off that way. Steph Curry started on the bench and Otto Porter Jr. had his problems, GP2 and all that. But in the end, they were just about as healthy as any team in the playoffs. And that's what matters down the stretch. So I think the Warriors they're going to fluctuate everything. I don't think anyone knows what to expect. Everyone's just pontificating right now with no real answer, because that's all you can do.
Good word.
Thanks.
Well, I want to get back to Chris Paul and how they'll use him in a second here. But just back to Jordan Poole real quick.
Yeah.
The fact that this was so unsalvageable is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah.
That it got to this point. And I think that they like we were talking about today, Stephen. I think you commented in today's the little preview for today's show in a tweet. You said that you don't think this move is made without the approval of Steph Curry.
Nope.
So he's probably signing off on Jordan Poole's out of here, bringing Chris Paul. And we'll get to Steph Curry and Chris Paul's relationship. But isn't it kind of fucked up that, do you think that Jordan Poole got a raw deal in the sense that, let's just say this happened in the workplace. Let's say that you and I are working again at some radio station, and you're the savvy vet that's been there for a long time. I'm the new guy, but I'm getting some good run. And things are going well for me. They're wondering if you're going to stay. And we have a disagreement one day, and you just punch me in the face. And initially, everyone is like, damn, Steven, that's fucked up. But because you're so well liked that eventually people come back to you and they're on your side, and then I get fired because I can't get over it. Now I understand that's not how this is basketball. It's a locker room. It's different than the normal workplace. But when looking on it as just like a human experiment, isn't it kind of fucked up?
Well, yeah. Yeah, but also Jordan Poole's getting paid $32 million a year over the next 4 years. And that's how he responds. Yeah, from a human standpoint, of course, but you can't talk about sports without bringing in the business side to it. So absolutely, sure, on a human level, it might be sort of messed up, but from a team standpoint, they made a decision that said, look, Poole is not going to be worth that money in the future. Let's trade away his thing now. And let me also say this too about the trade. The draft picks are irrelevant. I'm sorry, like, everyone's kind of making fun of the Warriors, like with how much they traded away. Draft picks are irrelevant. I don't care what anyone has to say about some draft pick in 2027 and 2030. 2030, a protected first round pick in 2030. For all we know, by that time, Steph's going to be gone. Clay's going to be out of all these guys are going to be out of the league, and the Warriors could be very well be at the bottom.
I'll be 39.
And the reason why it's a protected pick is because they think, well, just by way of sports, really hard to keep a team in contention for 20 years. It's hard to be the San Antonio Spurs. There's potential that maybe we're the worst team in the league and we might actually do we actually know what the protected pick is?
Not yet.
Okay. I'm very curious to see that because there's a very real chance that pick being protected, they'll have that pick in 2030 anyway, just because the team is not a lot can change in 7 years, man.
Now, NBA draft picks don't mean shit. It's not like NFL draft picks where guys are just moving just for those draft picks, and those draft picks are valued way more than NBA draft picks. It's totally different.
No, it's 2030.
I know.
What?
I know.
Good Lord.
Let me ask.
They're gonna make Barbie 5 by that time.
Only can hope, Steven. And then they're on Oppenheimer 3.
Oppenheimer 3. What happens next? Holy shit!
I told you I was first on that Oppenheimer versus Barbie thing, man. That is going to be dicey.
Is it?
Yeah, Barbie's going to crush Oppenheimer.
Who cares?
You could bet on that. If you could bet on box office gross for Vegas, put my money on Barbie.
All right.
I'll ask you this question though, Steven.
Yeah.
Does it feel weird that the Warriors are valuing the 3 wise men, the old guys, the 30-year-olds, more than a 24-year-old kid that's up and coming on the team? I know that he made too much money and he was not looking well, but this is a Giants fan. They held on to their guys from the 3 World Series way too long. And I think Steph Curry can still be a championship player. I still think that Draymond Green can. I wonder about Clay. You're going to sign Draymond Green to potentially a 3-year contract if, with all indications are that he's going to come back to the Warriors. There's some rumors, Bobby Marks threw out there, of, the Kings have enough money now, the Lakers have enough money, and he's probably going to take visits with all 3 teams. And in the end, he probably will go back to the Warriors. But do you think it's good business to invest in the 3 30-year-old guys as opposed to going with the 2 timeline approach and going younger? Like back in the day, Bill Walsh traded away guys a year too early as opposed to a year too late. Is Joe Lacob and Mike Dunleavy hanging on to these guys just to keep the fans in the seats?
Well, yeah, I think the latter's absolutely true, but I think this is a different case than, say, we're talking with the San Francisco Giants because of the first player you mentioned, Steph Curry. As long as he's around, he's going to maximize, I think, whatever Draymond and Clay have left. And, with Draymond, it is a big deal. The Ernies are getting into a little thing about the amount of money. 3 years, $100 million is too much. 3 years, $75 much better. Of course, cheaper is better. That's what we all want. 3 years
Yeah.
is looking like the price point that it's going to be, and they're probably going to overpay for him. Let's be honest. Like this is this is Rich Paul that we're talking about or whatever. They're Clutch Sports. Like they're going to squeeze as much money as they can possibly get.
He's got to buy those fancy vacations for Adele.
But yeah, but it, it's different than what the Giants were going through, especially because of these deals that the Giants were giving their players. It's not like they're automatically going to give Clay anything. I have a hard time believing he's going to last past this contract. I really
Hmm.
do.
Hmm.
Draymond, a 3-year deal, like the money is important, but it's not like these 5-year deals that they were giving to some of these players or these 8-year deals that you're seeing with some of these pitchers in baseball. Those long-term extensions were a lot longer and, by the way, a lot harder to trade away just because they were underperforming. So it's different, and maybe it is a mistake, but I mean, what kind of future do they have to look forward to right now? Like, what are the other options? Is it really you going to stick with Jordan Poole and just try and build from there, or are you just going to try and stick it out with the 3 guys that have proven that they're committed to the organization, committed to winning, and understand how to win?
No, I mean, I think it's probably the right move to make because despite everything that happened last season, I mean, we're talking about this team like they are going in the dumps fast. Like
Right.
they just won the championship a year ago, and they were the 6th seed this year. Um, you do want to invest in Steph Curry, no doubt. I do wonder about extending a 33-year-old Draymond Green, but he still is arguably one of the best defensive players in basketball still. Klay Thompson, you saw a little drop off in the playoffs, so I don't know what the right answer is. I think that they want to hang on to these guys as much as possible, and they want to erect a statue of all 3 guys together in front of the Chase Center one day. But you do wonder if you're hanging on to something for too long just because it's what you're used to. So I do wonder about that. And I did ask Alex this last podcast. It does seem to me like between the 3 Bay Area teams, Steven, if I had to rank who has the best future going forward, I'd probably put the Warriors on last on the list just because they're running out of time. They are getting older. Their window seems to be decreasing. Niners, kind of the same deal in the sense, though, that eventually they're going to have to pay a quarterback. And you can't pay Brandon Ayuk. You can't pay Debo Samuel. You can't pay Nick Bosa and all these guys. And eventually your window's going to close there. If you ask me right now, it's the San Francisco Giants. They are young and they don't need to pay anybody in the foreseeable future. So I think that they have a brighter future amongst the 3 Bay Area teams. If you had to pick one, what would you say?
Well, what do you consider like a brighter future? You mean like a team that's like a perennial playoff contender, like after?
I'm just saying, like long term, with everything we know about the Niners, Warriors, and Giants, in a solid like not just 3 years, not just 5 years, not just 10 years, like looking down the line, who's set up to have more success sooner?
Um. Oh well, I personally think the Niners are still number one
A
on
lot of
that.
people said that, yeah.
I'm still there because like John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have proven that they can put together a winning roster, and a lot of like the Warriors, a lot of these guys, homegrown players.
Yeah.
A lot of them early draft picks who they just happen to pay. And then, of course, you bring Trent Williams into it, who's not exactly that, but, you got to make some sort of splash move every now and then. And the Niners have proven that they could do that. So I'd have to put the Niners there. The Giants, I don't know. I think their future is super bright. They got a bunch of young up and coming guys. I mean, you're going to see Kyle Harrison and Carson Wisenhunt in the futures game. Marco Luciano balling in Double-A right now. Von Brown, Wade Meckler, Armando Arciaga. You go down the list. There's a lot of prospects that the Giants have, but you're also going to need to make an addition in terms of a superstar. And I don't know, I just don't know if the Giants can do that. They'd have to prove that to me in order for me to think like, all right, they're good for the future.
Do they though?
Yeah.
Well, not to go off on a tangent here, but you're seeing it with the Padres right now. They're a shit show right now.
For sure, but they're all that's a team that didn't have any leadership. Like, I'm not talking about just litter your team with superstars and pay out the ass for everybody, because you're absolutely right. The Padres, dumpster fire. favorited a tweet somewhere. I meant to retweet it. I guess I only liked it. But basically, there's a lot of infighting, a lot of dugout.
I saw that same tweet. Apparently,
Yeah,
there's a lot of finger pointing and a lot of things going on in the locker room that right now.
yeah.
And it, I would not be the least bit surprised. A friend of mine at KNBR said this to me the other day that he believes that Bob Melvin may step down when the season ends because he is not enjoying himself right now.
No, and I get all that, but you also do need at least one guy who can put your team over the top. And maybe the Giants do have that guy, but like Patrick Bailey and Casey Schmidt, these guys who have been called up, like to me, those guys are great, but they're not they're players who are going to be everyday starters for maybe the next decade, which is great. Like
Yeah.
you can say that, I think. Like they're that good defensively. Casey Schmidt had a lot of problems with the bat. I don't know. I could actually see him going down to AAA again this year just to work on his swings because it's like they're not even giving him any reps right now. But and also it had to do with the injury. But anyway, yeah, I just think the Niners are in a better position, and just looking at where they're at is in terms of the NFC. Like they're right at the top right now, and it's I don't know. Are there any young NFC teams right now who you could see in the future competing? I don't know. Maybe the Bears can build their roster. The Panthers can try
Lions.
and build around Bryce Young. The Lions right there. So I don't know. I think the 49ers are right at the top. But I heard you and Alex, and I heard you guys discussing it. You know what I mean? And and I hear your point on the Giants, but I think the Niners are better suited for the future right now. Shout out to Alex for filling in, by the way.
No, he did a great job, despite
Yeah.
saying you know what I mean a million times. But yeah, he did a great job.
He's got he has some big shoes to fill, man. You know, tough.
I don't know how big your shoes
Tough.
are.
Yeah.
There will come a day, though. There will come a day, and we're seeing it right now with a lot of running backs in the NFL, where Christian McCaffrey is a free agent, and they will not sign him back because that is what the NFL is now. We'll see what happens when it comes to the tag deadline if Josh Jacobs gets his money, and then when Dalvin Cook signs his deal. But there will come a day where Christian McCaffrey is not going to be on the priority list for the Niners.
Yeah.
So, and who knows when that will be, because the lifespan of a running back these days it seems to be decreasing as we keep going in this NFL. But real quick, back to Chris Paul.
Mm-hmm.
I do wonder about his relationship and the way he is with that team. So he's coming in being Chris Paul, the enemy of the Warriors for a long time. We know his history when he played with the Clippers and he played with the Rockets. And if we go back to 2012, 2013, 2014, Chris Paul was Steph Curry's mentor. They were linked, like they were doing State Farm commercials together. It was Cliff Paul and Steve Curry. And for whatever reason, Steph, like it was supposed to be like a whole new thing where Steph was supposed to be a part of that, and then he's not a part of the State Farm commercials anymore. I think it all changed when Steph Curry did that move on Chris Paul. We remember that Sunday afternoon game against the Warriors and Clippers in the Warriors' first championship run, where he put Chris Paul in a blender and made him look foolish. And after that, something happened. Like as long as Steph Curry's star was rising, it seemed that Chris Paul did not like that. And we'll play the Draymond clip in a little bit here. But I forgot about Draymond's clip, but I remember it seemed like a little bit of jealousy or a little bit of animosity when Steph got bigger than Chris Paul. And there was the shimmy that Chris Paul threw at Steph Curry in the playoff series. It's not a big deal, but Steve Kerr laughing with Chris Paul, and then Chris Paul's like, and then shuts down his face. That was more kind of a fun thing. This past year, I brought it up with Alex. Steph Curry says to Chris Paul, "This isn't 2014 anymore." And then they asked Chris Paul about it in the locker room afterwards, and he's like, "I don't know what the fuck that's supposed to mean. It's supposed to mean that you're old, Chris." That's what he's getting at. So while I do think that Steph Curry signed off on this move, and Chris Paul is all aboard and ready to do this thing, it is going to be a big culture shock to him than to be on a team where he's not the man. He wasn't the man with the Phoenix Suns, but he's really not going to be the man on this team.
Yeah, that all has to do. Can we actually play those clips?
Play it. Play, yeah. Draymond spoke about this. I think this is a 2020 on All the Smoke podcast with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson.
So this is 2020.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, I thought this was from way earlier. All right.
I don't like CP at all. Like, we don't have a good relationship at all, but I respect his hustle and I respect his IQ. He's smart as hell. And
smart.
And CP was kind of using, like, CP saw stuff coming up. And, you know, once you start to get older in this league, you start to realize, like, okay, this guy is coming. Eventually, he may catch me because I'm going to start to decline at some point. And so I would kind of see CP kind of keeping Steph at bay, but yet fucking giving him a stiff arm at the same time. Now, Steph, you know, Steph ain't, you know, Steph is Steph. Like, we all love Steph, right? He ain't cut, like, he ain't got the street part to him. And so
he ain't confrontational at all. He ain't confrontational.
Exactly. And so with me coming from where I come from and the way I grew up, I'm kind of watching like, yo, he kind of rock with you, Steph, but he kind of don't. He kind of keeping you at bay. And so I took it upon myself to try to create fucking division there.
Everything Draymond is talking about, I noticed too. And yeah, Ernie 2 on the chat here says, don't forget when Chris Paul kicked out Steph Curry in Houston. I do remember that because they were trying to get shots up before a game, and Chris Paul was like, no, you can get out of here.
I don't think that this I don't think this trade can be considered like a failed trade based on what happens with Jordan Poole. But with how Draymond spoke there, the fact that was in 2020, not too long ago, like, you're fully grown by then, you know, you're up to 30 years old by then. You've made your mind up. Like we talked about, like you have your mind made up. Like, if this means that Draymond is second guessing whether he wants to stay on the Warriors now, because he made it pretty known, like, yeah, I want the Warriors to give me an extension. But if this move made him second guess that and think, you know what, I'd rather go to the Pistons, Kings, or who is the other team? The Blazers. And I'm going to go play with Dame if Dame sticks around there. Like, then you could consider this trade like a failure, because I agree with all the pundits who say that the Warriors are not a championship team without Draymond.
I do agree as well, but I don't think they're making this move without some knowledge to know that we're in a good position to get Draymond back.
For sure. But like, what if he didn't know though? Like, what if he doesn't come back because it's like, I don't want to play on the same team as CP3?
Well, I think that he would have to sign off on it too. But then again, this is a new regime. You know, this is probably the first time that Draymond Green has not sat in a draft room since Bob Myers. Well, I'm sure he wasn't there initially, but that's the thing that Draymond would do. He would sit with Bob during the draft and be like, "What are we doing here?"
Yeah.
Or call him up.
He was instrumental in bringing Kuminga and Moody both.
So maybe they didn't. I mean, like, it's pretty hard for me to believe that Steph didn't at least tell Draymond, like, "Hey, I know you got your free agency stuff, but this is what I'm thinking with Chris Paul." You know, it's a big deal and it's not a big deal, because I don't think it's a big deal in the same sense that Draymond Green was demonstrative towards DeMarcus Cousins when they played against each other in the Kings, and then they became teammates.
Yeah,
but I do believe that there will come a time where Chris Paul is doing his thing that he's always done for however long he's been playing now, and that's not going to be the style of basketball that the Warriors play. And we've seen that Draymond Green has no hesitation to tell Kevin Durant or even Steph, you're not playing the right way. You're fucking us up. And he will not hesitate to do that to Chris Paul. Now, what is Chris Paul going to do?
Yeah.
Are they going to get into a confrontation? That's where I hear the whole thing of, you know, Chris Paul will come off the bench and maybe he could slow things down a little bit, but he also has to get in shape and run the style of offense that they run. And if he's not going to be able to do that at 38 years old, then they probably will trade him at the deadline, because he brings a different element to this offense, but he's still got to be a Golden State Warrior and run from sideline to sideline and be fast.
Totally.
And if he's slowing them down, Draymond will not hesitate to tell him that. And he may bite his head off, and Chris Paul will probably bite his head off right back to him. And that's where things get chippy.
Yeah. All right, let's play this one with Steph, because I think I don't think it's so much the clip that's interesting; it's the title. But we'll play this one here.
I was talking with Michael Wilbon in preparation for this interview, who was involved in this process with your book, and he was telling me, don't forget that Chris Paul is one of the first people to ever reach out to Steph Curry when he came into the league. Can you tell me about that?
Me and Steph have known each other a long time, man. My wife was at his wedding. I think him and his wife was at our wedding, but we've known each other for a very, very long time, man. So I'm excited to get a chance to play alongside him. Clay, Wig, Draymond, all them, man. They got a unbelievable organization, and that team is just, they've been playing together for a while, and they know what they're doing.
I was talking with Michael Wilbon.
So you see that title in the graphic?
Most meaningful communication with Warriors since the trade?
Yeah, that was the question he was asked before this answer. Now, I watched the interview earlier today, and I don't know. I'm probably reading way too much into it, and I may have taken it wrong. I don't know. I was hyped up on caffeine. This was prime caffeine hours when I was watching this thing.
Hopped up a Mountain Dew.
Yep. But he did not have any communication with anybody by the sounds of it. Like he didn't say anything about, well, yeah, I talked with Steph a little bit about what we're going to do moving forward. And I'm sure he did. Maybe he just didn't mention it. And like the word meaningful, like actually to him meant something, but he didn't mention any conversation. He just said, look, we kind of all know why I'm here. We know what we're trying to do. We're trying to win a championship. He kind of insinuated that there doesn't need to be any meaningful communication, but I wonder, did anyone hit him up like as soon as he was traded to the Warriors? Like, welcome to the team.
Well, let me just say that what the graphic said did not match what Malika's question was.
Right.
So that's kind of misleading.
Didn't she ask that though? Haven't you had any meaningful communication with the Warriors?
She basically asked how did you and Steph Curry know each other for so long? What has your relationship been?
I'm saying this was the question before that. Like they kept the graphic up there.
Oh,
question about Steph.
Well, we don't hear that answer though in that clip, and that's what sucks about social media.
Exactly. Like that's the one I listened to. It was like the first time. It was the first question she asked about the Warriors, and I was like, "Ooh, that's."
I have a hard time believing that Steph didn't reach out after this trade went down.
Right.
And yet again, it's not official. Let me read what Steph said to Anthony Slater today.
Okay.
So this is what Steph said in relation to Chris Paul joining the Warriors. The business is crazy. We all know that. If you asked us 6 months ago if this was something that could happen, the answer probably would have been no, just based on where we were. Then you go to the summer, and we're trying to find ways to get better, and you put yourself in the position to chase another championship. Every team that CP has been on gets better. That's the most consistent thing on him and who he is and what he brings to the team. Everybody's going to talk about the age. It's on us to put that all together and figure out how all the pieces work. You hate losing JP. I know it's not all the way official yet, so I don't want to talk too much before it is. But that's the tough part of the business, seeing a young guy come into his own and then get traded. It's a great opportunity for him. It's just you get to know someone like that, build a friendship, build a bond. It's tough to see him go, but you know we're trying to win next year, and CP can help us do that. So, to me, that's Steph saying Chris Paul's all on board, and I'm ready to do this thing with him. And I don't feel there's going to be any animosity between Chris Paul and Steph Curry just because Steph Curry became a bigger star than Chris Paul. I think it's going to be on Chris Paul to realize that and to be comfortable with that. I do think his comments are a little bigger on Jordan Poole, in the sense that, he really fought for Jordan Poole to be on this team and to be a great player, and he even saw himself that that's not going to be possible with his attitude and the way that he was handling himself. So as far as Chris Paul, the only things I worry about are him accepting his role and him being able to run the offense the way that Steve Kerr wants it run. And if that's not going to happen, then he's going to run into issues with Steve Kerr and Draymond Green. As far as him and Steph, as long as Chris Paul knows he's there to back up Steph, then I don't think they'll have any problems.
This soap opera, man, this is crazy. This is why I'm so intrigued with the season, and I love this thing with because I all those concerns I think are very much warranted. I guess I share the same ones, and I want to see how it plays out. But did you know that Clay and Mike Dunleavy had the type of relationship, like you and Jim Barnett, where Jim Barnett changed your diapers once, and Kyle Shanahan and Christian McCaffrey, like Kyle Shanahan babysat him. Did you know that him and Dunleavy had that same type of relationship?
No, I actually missed that. So that's part of the quotes that Clay said. Yeah,
Yeah. When he was asked about Dunleavy, he says he grew up watching him play because I guess like they were in Portland at the same time. And he said, now he's technically my boss after he was kind of a big brother growing up, going over to his house, having him throw us in the pool in that junk, now working with him is crazy. I know Mike will do great things. How about that?
Yeah, I did not know that. So that's interesting in the sense that, wow, is Mike gonna have to be the guy to tell Clay, you're done here?
Yeah. Dude, what was my favorite? What was one of my favorite parts about this? It's not so much that and also, the talk about social media running wild was something like Klay Thompson says it's a little weird, and that's like the only quote that anyone brings up.
Of course it's weird. Everyone's reaction to this thing was weird.
But his reasoning for why it was weird is because of exactly what we were all thinking. Like, duh. But like for some reason it's spun into, oh man, he doesn't like this move. It's like that sort of thing.
No, that's not what happened.
But what was it? Where was my favorite part from Clay? Come on, where was it? Damn it. Did I not see it?
Talking about Chris Paul or talking about Mike Dunleavy?
Yeah, talking about Chris Paul. He said, at least we got Chris Paul now. I know Chris might be a double-digit handicap. When he joined our team, I told him finally I could beat someone on the links. Andre and Steph are on a different level.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's friendly banter at this point. I think it's the heat of competition as well. I think they will embrace.
You know what? Thinking about it, Derek, these are grown-ass men.
Yeah.
Okay? They're in their 30s. If this drama carries over into the season, get over it. You're in your 30s, bro.
Okay, you say that, and I agree with you, but apply that same mindset to Jordan Poole not being there.
What do you mean?
They're all grown-ass men.
Well, Jordan
still had a 33-year-old man punch a 24-year-old man, and no one could get over it.
Correct.
Except for Draymond could, but it's easy for him too because he was the one that punched him.
Yeah, but like Poole's 24. I don't consider 24 a grown-ass man.
I don't either, and that's why this is kind of difficult because, like I was saying before, do you feel like Jordan Poole got a raw deal because he's still growing, he's maturing? He's entitled to feel a certain way about Draymond.
Yeah, but he got his $32 million.
Yeah,
he got his contract extension. He got his money. Did he get the short end of the stick, but a raw deal, $32 million a year?
No.
And also, Curry's comment about, CP3 and, we want to win a championship. Maybe Steph Curry noticed, maybe the other guys noticed too, that Poole's not in the camp of trying to win a championship anymore. That might not be his sole aim, which is what they need right now. Maybe they could see that his mind was taken someplace else. I'm going to say this. I'm going to miss Jordan Poole. I'm going to miss him for his personality. I think he was a quirky dude. I think he brought some sort of this weird youthful exuberance on the court.
Great actor.
What he acted?
The commercial with Bonte.
Oh, yeah.
Bring the end page in.
Hey, those are my lines.
I will say between the two of them, Bonte's the better actor there.
Yeah, agreed.
You trying to take my job?
At least he was trying. Yeah. But I'll miss him for that. But you know what? In the end, man, he got his $32 million. He's going to be a star. I think he's going to take it upon himself. I don't think he's going to win a championship anytime soon. And you know what?
No, not with that team. No.
You know what he might turn into? He might just turn into Bradley Beal. High-paid, scoring guard, who's the leader of the team, but they can't seem to get over the hump. And every single year, Jordan Poole's name is going to be brought up for some playoff contender who needs some scoring.
Fantastic segue, Stephen. As we put the Chris Paul, Jordan Poole conversation to bed, let's talk about some of these other trades that went down that were pretty big. You and I talked about it last week, that it was coming down to either the Miami Heat or the Phoenix Suns for Bradley Beal, and in the end, he gets traded to the Phoenix Suns. And I told you I thought that if that were to happen, it would be a good move, but not a great move just because you're killing some of the depth on the bench. And I don't think I like Bradley Beal, but I don't love Bradley Beal. I think he's a great player, but he's not like going to bring you that dynamic offense like Damian Lillard will. But he's good in his own way, just a pure scorer, kind of like a Jimmy Butler type. So you got Bradley Beal going to the Suns, you got Kristaps Porzingis going to the Celtics, and also in the the 4-way trade of that happening, you got Marcus Smart going to the Grizzlies. No more Marcus Smart for the Boston Celtics anymore. You got Malcolm Brogdon going to the Clippers. Between all those moves, Steven, which one stood out to you the most?
Oh, I guess the Smart one. I didn't expect Marcus Smart to be moved off. I didn't think he'd be gone from the Celtics. Like, that dude was their version of Draymond Green. And now you're keeping your two top players, their top scorers, and Marcus Smart was kind of the same, very similar to Draymond in that on offense, he's kind of a liability. He can knock down the three every now and then, but more often than not, he can turn the ball over. He doesn't do much. I guess I was surprised by that one. Like, that one shocked me more. I knew Beal was going to get traded, and when it was down to the Suns of the Heat, but out of nowhere, it's just Marcus Smart. What? So that one.
Yeah, we were all at the Giants game a week ago when that one went down. We're like, that's surprising. My initial thought was, so he's going to fill in for John Morant while he's gone for 25 games. But then I was like, well, actually, he's an upgrade over Dylan Brooks, so he'll be good to fill into the starting lineup when John Morant comes back. So that is a good move for Memphis. As far as the Celtics, I don't know. I mean, so Derek White's going to be the point guard now, and they're going to have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I never have been a big Kristaps Porzingis fan, but I guess they need more size. You wonder about Al Horford then with his future with the team. Yeah, that one was surprising.
That's my favorite part about the trade is we're trying to evaluate what Kristaps Porzingis has been like as if we've watched Wizards game through the 82-game season.
But not even that. When he was on the Mavericks or even when he was on the Knicks, I never been that blown away by him.
Yeah.
He was just kind of, he was Luka's, partner when they were in the Mavericks together. But I don't know. He's just kind of an odd player and never really stood out to me. I would agree with you. The Marcus Smart trade is pretty interesting. I don't know if it makes the Grizzlies, it makes them better, but I don't know if it makes them, the best team in the West, and it definitely does not do that. The Beal trade is significant, but I will say this. I don't know if you agree with this, Stephen. None of these moves, even the Chris Paul trade, none of them take away from the Nuggets being the best team of the West still, in my opinion.
No, I don't think so either. But I think the Suns are going to be just fine. I know that they don't have much depth. I think they're going to be just fine. Like, I still think the Nuggets are the top team, but someone's going to have to make some sort of massive move up to the deadline if they want to surpass them.
Well, let's talk about that because we have the free agency officially starting on Friday. Do we call this the fuckery too when it comes to basketball?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's do it. So we got a lot of big name free agents. You got Draymond Green. You got Kyrie Irving. Who else is out there? James Harden's going to be a free agent. A lot of trades being discussed. I want to float this one at you, Steven.
Yeah.
Nazir Reed signs a contract with the Minnesota Timberwolves to go back to that team. And if people that are watching Timberwolves games, they know that Nazir Reed is a young and up-and-coming player in this league. And he's pretty good. When he does not play, the Timberwolves they actually don't play as well, even though they have two great centers on that team between Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. And Jim Peterson, former Warrior, comes on a lot with Tolbert and Copes, is a good friend of Tom Tolbert's, and he said the number one thing that the Timberwolves need to do is hang on to Nazir Reed, which begs the question to me. They just traded for Rudy Gobert a year ago, and that contract is not looking good. No one wants to pick that up. Karl-Anthony Towns is on the last year of his deal. I don't think there's any scenario where the Warriors could get him, although I would take this, but I don't think they can. Do you think Karl-Anthony Towns may get moved this free agency period?
Huh. Can't say I put too much thought into that, Derek.
Just when I saw that move made by Nazir Reed, I was like, they're going to keep three centers on this team that have starting capability. And that's been a rumor for a while. We asked Bobby Marks about it yesterday on Tolbert to Copes, and he said that is a possibility. I don't know where he would go, but I would not be the least bit surprised. They got to start paying, Anthony Edwards. They just paid Nazir Reed. They're paying a shit ton of money to Rudy Gobert. I do think eventually I don't know if it's going to be the here and now, but I do think that Karl-Anthony Towns' time with the Timberwolves is coming to an end.
Yeah, maybe. Well, whoever gets him is getting what does he call himself? The best center to ever live? I don't know what he's
Well, he whatever podcast he was on, or it was Pat Beverly's. He said that he changed the game.
I guess so. I really like Anthony Towns. I like Karl-Anthony Towns as a player, but what happened?
Huh?
Something happened. Sorry, I had the rainbow wheel on my laptop. That scared me for a second. I thought he'd die.
Scared the shit out of me.
Yeah. Wait. So Karl-Anthony Towns has 5 years left or 6 years left on his contract. By the looks.
Am I looking at the right thing? Couldn't he opt out after this year?
I'm seeing 2027.
On Spotrac?
Signed an extension July 6th of 2022, and it kicked in this year. So he's going to be making 33, 36, 49, 53, 57, and then 61.
Oh. Wait a minute.
Hang on. Let me show you what I'm looking at here. Boston Celtics.
I may have got some bad info then.
So, yeah, he's got the largest guarantee on the team.
Well, maybe they can't move him then. But then again, like, why? But then that's been a topic of conversation then. Hold on. I'm looking at Spotrac. Hold on. Trade restriction. So he can't be traded until July 7th. So, yeah, okay, he's not in the last year of his contract. Never mind that. That's not a thing. So he won't be a free agent until the summer of 2028. But I still think he could get moved.
Yeah. No, you can definitely get traded. I don't think they're going to do it now.
Well, why not?
I mean, because, like, you could build around him and try to figure it out with all these other guys. I don't know.
He's salary cap. A lot of teams are making salary cap moves.
Maybe just cut Rudy Gobert.
They're not with how much they gave for him.
I don't know.
It's not that simple. Okay, how about this one?
Is there any other random team that you're asking me to predict their future contracts on?
Yes.
Okay.
It's time. It's time for Damian Lillard to get the hell out of Portland.
Oh, now it's time.
Well, listen. This is the first time where it's come pretty close. Like in years past, he's always been like, and I respect it, but in years past, he's always been like, no, I came into the league with Portland. I like Portland. I like living in Portland. I want to stay in Portland. And I respect the hell out of that. Because watching the Bill Walton documentary, did you watch that at all, Steven?
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to that a little later. Portland's a beautiful place. So I don't blame him for wanting to stay there and live a life there. But as far as being, a great player and winning championships, it's time to go. And you can't tell me for a second. I love Damian Lillard, but if there's one critique I have of him, stop going on Instagram Live all the time or whatever the hell he's doing. Like, he's on that all the time. And he'll just be chilling and just put himself on Instagram Live. And you can't tell me for a second that last Friday he's just chilling at a bar and he Instagram Lives when Miami comes on, the Will Smith song, and that's not some indication of what he wants to do? Come on.
Yeah. I've been saying this for the last 2 years that he needs to go. Like, go elsewhere. Try to, you're not going to do anything in Portland. Stop it.
And that's the thing, is he's been very respectful in that regard, and he's anti-super team. But, this is the closest he's been. Like, I don't know what interview he was doing earlier this year, but he was doing the DeAndre Hopkins thing, saying that I'd be open to Miami. I'd be open to Brooklyn. I'm not doing Boston. So apparently he sat down with the Portland Trailblazers GM and his agent, and they had a conversation about the future. And all indications are that Damian Lillard's going to wait and see what the Trailblazers do this offseason. If they don't do things to his liking, then he's going to ask for a trade. But at that point, when's it going to be too late? Like, so in the first week of free agency, if they don't get Draymond Green, which I think it's going to be a cold day in hell that they acquire Draymond Green. Draymond Green does not want to go to Portland. So unless that happens, and he could say he wants to play with Scoot Henderson and all that, their philosophy of what they want to do with the Trailblazers going forward should not be Damian Lillard's philosophy. So I don't want him to be an asshole. I think he needs to do the DeAndre Hopkins thing and just kind of allude to the fact, like, hey, I put in the time here. You got so many, murals of me around Portland that look nothing like me. I've done my time. I'm a great player. I'll probably go down as one of the best Portland Trailblazers of all time, but it's time for me to go.
He should have said this a couple of years ago. He wouldn't be in this predicament right now.
But I don't think really he is in a predicament. I think that if he wants to do it, he could. I just don't think he likes that perception of, well, I bitched and moaned my way out of my home for the last 10 years of my life.
Yeah, but I don't know. He's strong. Like, who cares? In the end, you got to go win a championship, and the Blazers were not the place to do that. When he got that contract extension, whatever it was, 3 or 4 years ago, like, his name has been brought up in trades every single year. And last year, great first start to the season, then obviously got hurt and everything else happened from there. But I think I think you can win somewhere. Just go anywhere. Been calling for this for 2 years now.
I know. And there was no way this was going to happen, but you see that the Warriors acquired Chris Paul, and you see that Damian Lillard could be out, and you're like, damn, I'd much rather have Damian Lillard, but there's no way in hell that's going to work out.
No, that's not going to happen.
So yeah, I think that Damian Lillard, here's what I think happens, and this is kind of disappointing. I think that he'll not say anything, and it becomes too late, and he just starts playing with the Portland Trailblazers this season to start, and then they'll start to lose, and then he'll finally say, I need to leave, and at the trade deadline, then he gets dealt somewhere.
Just leaving until the last minute.
Right. I know. I'm hoping that changes because they're not getting Draymond. They could sign back. Who does he want? Who's the guy on the team? Grant something?
Who?
Who's on the Trailblazers that is a free agent? Jeremy Grant. They could sign back Jeremy Grant. It's not enough. Like, he could go to the Heat now and win.
Yeah, whatever. Blazers are irrelevant.
True.
They're gonna be.
The other two big names, Kyrie Irving and James Harden. What do you think happens with them? Do you think they stay with their teams, or do you think they crash in and get bigger offers somewhere else?
Man, I don't even know where these guys are gonna go.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I don't know where anything with Irving, with Harden. Honestly, man, I've stopped paying attention to them. Like,
that's fair.
Whatever they do, like, I don't care anymore. I'm past them. I'm over it with them too.
I see them going back to their respective teams that they played with a season ago. I think that James Harden, even though he's alluding to he wants to go and have fun in Houston again and go to all the strip clubs, your best chance to win is at Philadelphia. This is where I get so mad at players where they just cash in and go to a shitty team. Now's the time to win. So I think James Harden goes back to the 76ers. Kyrie, I don't know, and to be honest, I really don't care.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of tired of him, and I could see the Lakers trying to get him to make LeBron happy, but also I could see a lot of LA fans not liking that move for what he's done in the past. So I could see, Dallas being like, we're the only team that wants you. So I don't know. And yeah, to your point, Steven, I really don't care.
Yeah.
But it will be big news, and we'll talk about it. But what's the one thing you want this offseason from the Warriors that they haven't addressed yet? They need to get a center. Is there anybody you have in mind?
I think Jakob Poeltl. See, here's the thing where I'm confused. How can they spend?
With the luxury tax and all that shit?
How can they spend anything? Because, like, any move is going to be triple whatever their cost is. I'd like to say, bring in Jakob Poeltl. I think he'd be a great fit for the Warriors. Christian Wood is someone that I like, except he'd probably have to be a starter. I don't know what the Warriors can actually pay right now for anyone.
Brook Lopez, a little too old.
I think Brook Lopez would be a great fit.
That's what I think too. I mean, he'll be 35, but you're gonna have an old team. Montrezl Harrell is what Ernie Two's saying. they just need to address size. They need to get somebody. And I'm with you, Steven. Like, everyone shits on, everybody talks too much NFL offseason stuff, but it's the easiest, salary cap to understand as far as contracts and whatnot. Baseball is kind of confusing to me. Basketball is confusing to me. I don't know what the Warriors situation is, although Bobby Marks did write a great article that kind of maps it out. And the Kings cleared up some salary cap. The Lakers cleared up some salary cap. They have to, I guess, let all their free agents go or something. The Warriors are kind of in the middle tier. But then again, like, I guess in basketball, Joe Lacob could just open up his checkbook and then get more players. I don't know.
Yeah, they always find a way to work a loophole around it. So, I don't any like. There's nothing I need the Warriors to do through. You know what I need them to do? Either add a player or stand pat. Don't do anything else. Don't trade Kuminga. No more. Like, you've traded your young piece. You've done all you need to do. Like, maybe they could find anyone. They really could. I'd probably be okay with it because I'm normally optimistic when it comes to that sort of stuff. But I don't have any specific player in mind. Montrezl Harrell would be. I like Montrezl Harrell a lot. That'd be awesome.
Is he a free agent right now?
I mean, if Ernie says so.
I'm kind of on you, Ernie, too. I was wrong about my Karl-Anthony Towns contract before. Yeah, and Dante DiVincenzo did opt out today, so I doubt he'll be back with the team.
Yeah.
Or the Warriors declined his option, I should say. They just need to get a big. It was apparent in that Lakers series. They do not have the size. They need to get size. They need to address the center position with a veteran, and I think they will.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens there. And we will get all to it this Saturday. You and I will be back on, and we'll talk about the free agency fuckery that goes down in the NBA because it will be hot and spicy this Friday at 3 o'clock. Is when everything is going down. At the beginning of the podcast, Stephen, you and I were talking about how you've grown and matured and what you figured out about yourself in the last year.
Yeah.
Is that your grown up voice?
My grown voice.
Yeah. You just sound like Bruce Bochy.
Yeah.
What I've learned about myself in the last year, or so far, the half of this year, is not something I'm proud of. So, in years past, like probably the 2018 season of basketball, when the Warriors had Kevin Durant and DeMarcus Cousins, that season pissed me off because all that was talked about was free agency. There was a huge free agency class, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and a lot of people were just focused on what the future was going to be. We already know the Warriors are going to win. Who cares about the here and now and the actual games being played? Let's talk about where guys are going to go. Like the Warriors kill a team by 20 points the night before, and the next day it's like, well, Rick Bucher says that the Knicks are going to go after Kevin Durant. I don't give a shit. Let's talk about the game. I don't give a fuck about like what's going to happen in the future. And there was a long time where the NFL did not operate that way. Guys stayed with their teams. There wasn't going to be huge trades and crazy-ass things. And then Matthew Stafford got traded to the Rams. And then Russell Wilson got traded to the Broncos. And then Tyreek Hill went to the Dolphins. We had crazy-ass trade after crazy-ass trade. And then my whole mentality changed. For whatever reason, I am addicted to the shit now, and I can't stand it, and I hate it. And that's why I care about DeAndre Hopkins and Dalvin Cook so much. If you listened to the podcast last week, Steven, I told you I'm not going to bring it up anymore, and I'm not, even though there's, Dov Kleiman says that, they could be offering, the Miami Dolphins could be offering Dalvin Cook a contract. We'll see about that. But I'm not bringing it up anymore. I'm just sick, and I care about stupid things way too much now. That's what I know about myself.
But do you want to grow out of that, though? Is that something that you want to keep pursuing? Because it doesn't have to be a part of your life, Derek. You can go on and move on to other things.
Well, I can't when, Dov Kleiman puts out his top 5 pass rushers in the NFL.
Yeah.
Niner fans going to be up in arms about that.
Artificial intelligence, Dov Kleiman. Still need to be convinced he's an actual human being.
I really wanted to comment on there and be like, yeah, Dov, tell us what you think about this and send us a picture of your face.
Please. Or like anything. Send a picture of your finger for all I care.
I don't want to. It's going to get weird after that.
That's true. Yeah. So are you going to keep on paying attention to it? You don't have to, Derek.
Well, until those guys actually sign, then yeah, I am going to care.
Yeah. Well, this is what keeps it going, though. This is what keeps the sport alive year round. Is this stupid stuff?
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, I know when stuff is bullshit. Like, then Doug Cliveman today says, like, oh, the Panthers and Browns could be lurking for. Listen, I said what I said last week. It's true. Nothing's going to get done right now. I know that. Everyone in the media knows that both of those guys are going to wait until training camp to sign with the team. And I really noticed it today, just watching Rich Eisen and Pat McAfee. They run with the story every day. And they know nothing's going to happen, and they just need something to happen. So they bring on these insiders like Mike Florio or Tom Pelissero every goddamn day, and nobody says anything. It's the same shit. Yeah. So I'm tired of it. I know a lot of people are tired of it. I know you're tired of it. Yeah. So I'm going to put this conversation to bed until both those guys actually sign with the fucking team.
Yeah. No, Pat McAfee makes it entertaining, though. At least he gives them a clap.
All right, let's go Colts, son. Sign both those guys.
Let's go. We're talking about football here with Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk. Everyone give him a round of applause. Okay, here we go. Yeah.
The funniest thing about watching, I do watch the interviews on McAfee sometimes, and the way that those people come on and just kiss his ass, it's just the fakest thing to me. Like Florio and Rappaport and all those guys, while like Boston Connor's asking them questions, and everybody's like, "Yeah, good question, Boston." Like, give me a break.
Yeah, they're trying to get in with the crowd, man. They got a young crowd that watches the Pat.
Yeah. Like even like Michael Lombardi. That dude used to come on with my dad all the time, and now he's like trying to act cool and hip with Pat McAfee now.
Don't work.
Yep. Before we get out of here, we haven't done this in a while, and you probably have the ticker for it ready to go, Steven. Pop culture catch-up. You seem excited.
Yep. All right.
Anything that you've been watching or listening or anything to lately?
The Bear.
Ooh.
Watching The Bear, season 2, almost over.
Not Cocaine Bear.
Not Cocaine Bear. The Bear. About the chef, about the restaurant, the Chicago Beef Company, whatever it's called. It's an awesome show. Recommended to anybody. Episode 6 was anxiety-inducing. There's a lot that happened in the 6th episode, and it was fantastic because there's a bunch of guest appearances. Jamie Lee Curtis with like the performance of the year. She was amazing.
Did she have more screen time than Everything Everywhere All at Once?
No. Well, I mean, if you had to take the hour relative to the movie, then yeah, because like yes, I guess so. She only had an hour.
A lot of people were upset about that Oscar, but
yeah, I was too. But she only had an hour to work with, so she was fantastic. It's a great show. Highly recommend it for anybody.
Okay. Ernie brought this up. So, did you watch the American Gladiator documentary and the Bill Walton one?
I only caught the Bill Walton one, at least the first 3 episodes.
Okay. Don't want to spoil too much for you, but I will tell you this. They do a great job talking about Bill Walton and his life and his playing career and, some of the crazy ass shit like his buddy that kidnapped Patty Hearst. The injuries, the weed smoking, his philosophy. But I love Bill Walton. And one of my favorite parts is when he's in Portland and he's playing pickup basketball, or he's not really playing, but he's watching the kids play. And they're like he's giving advice to these kids who have no idea who he is. Yeah. And the director's like asking him like, why'd you come out here? Like you're like a big, NBA star. Like, why'd you come out and play pickup basketball with random strangers? And he was like, because I love to play basketball and I love to go outside. We're creatures in the wilderness. We need to go out and meet people. I will say that they really, really did a bad job talking about his broadcasting career. They could have played at least half an hour of him saying crazy ass shit, and they did not do a good job of that.
Agreed. They didn't do anything on his broadcasting, and that's kind of where he made his mark in this next generation. Although it's a really sentimental documentary, and it kind of goes deeper into the mind of Bill Walton and why he's the luckiest guy in the world.
Yes. For all, 4 parts of it, they could have dedicated more time to that aspect of his career, but Well done. All in all, in the fourth episode, you should watch, Steven. He actually, the director actually pisses Bill Walton off, and it's actually a very interesting moment. But you haven't seen the American Gladiators documentary yet.
No.
Very good. I highly recommend that too. Did you listen to Killer Mike's solo album, Michael?
Yes.
First album he's done by himself with not a part of Run the Jewels in about 11 years. I listened to it last night. Very good. A lot of forgotten musical acts that come back and appear on the album. You got Jagged Edge. You got Andre 3000 from Outkast on there. It was well done. But I will say, I like Killer Mike a lot better when he's rapping over LP beats.
Yeah,
Like,
you're biased.
I am biased. I mean, listen, I knew about Killer Mike before he was part of Run the Jewels. I remember his first album, Monster. He's fantastic. Probably, in my opinion, like the best lyricist out there right now. But he just sounds so much better when he's rapping over an LP beat. And like that's like when I texted you about the album, I just remember the first Run the Jewels album they did together, which actually the 10-year anniversary I think was yesterday, which is crazy to me to think about that because it feels like yesterday that album came out. But one of the lines is a producer gave me a beat, said it was the beat of the year. I told him LP didn't do it, so get the fuck out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I feel. Like when I hear Killer Mike over beats that are just not as good, and like, you know, he's doing more of his southern hip hop stuff with, you know, on the new album, but he really goes into like being a great MC when he's rapping over LP stuff.
And shadows and grudas and mudas and rudas and buddhas and buddhas and buddhas and buddhas.
Yes.
That's his verse from Scientists and Engineers.
Basically.
Yeah. After Andre 3000 is like peon neon 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 neon.
Yeah, that song was weird. I mean, I like hearing Andre 3000 back on music, but that song was weird to me.
It was sick. Big fan of the album.
Yeah,
The
but
reason I called it album of the year is because this year has not been great for albums. It's been a very slow year for music.
well, my thing is like a lot of the songs sound a little similar. Like it's him rapping, and then you know, like a kind of a gospel-y chorus, and I just don't get the whole like I don't know, like when I'm simple. Like when it comes to hip hop, just give me two guys that can rock the mic and give me a sick beat, and that's what it needs to be. So my favorite album on the song was the one he did with LP. Everything was good, but that song stood out to me.
Yeah, fair enough.
Last one here. Have you heard about the show I'm a Virgo?
No.
So it's on Amazon Prime. It is a show about a giant who lives in Oakland. And it's directed by Boots Riley, who made Sorry to Bother You from The Coup, the hip-hop group. And you and I went to go see Sorry to Bother You when it came out. That movie's fucking crazy. This show is 10 times crazier. It's just all over the place. It's good, but a lot like Sorry to Bother You and a lot of Boots Riley stuff. It's anti-capitalism, and the message is, you know, out in the clear. It hits you over the head with it. It comes out of nowhere. You're like, oh, this show's about a giant. It's like out of nowhere, like capitalism sucks. You know, hospitals don't take care of people. You're like, where the fuck is this coming from? And also, you know, not to be hypocritical or anything, but it's on Amazon Prime. Like, it kind of defeats the whole message of the anti-capitalism thing. Nevertheless, It's a very weird show, but it's very well done. Kind of the pacing's a little all over the place, but things are a little underdeveloped. But I like originality. I like creative shit. So, yeah.
Does it have a bunch of giant minotaur dicks at the end?
Don't give away you see, Ernie, and you were giving away the plot twist, and Sorry to Bother You.
How can anyone remember that plot twist or know even how that plot twist will come about as they're watching the movie? There's no chance that anyone would understand that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you think the movie, you think the show is going a certain way, and then something comes out of left field, and you're like, where the fuck did that come from? Yeah, I mean, it's been enough years now. Yeah, Sorry to Bother You, the movie about telemarketing, and then out of nowhere, people are getting turned into horses. Like, that's the type of shit that Boots Riley is making. It's good, it's creative, it's original, but it's crazy. So I don't know if I could recommend the show or not. Like, give it a chance if you want something original, but at the same time, be warned, it's not for everybody.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, fair enough.
I don't know.
Anything else you want to bring up, Steven?
Oh, shout out to San Diego. Great place.
Fair enough. And your Giants have won tonight. They beat Brandon Belt and the Blue Jays.
Yeah. Yeah.
You liking what you're seeing from everybody? Luis Matos and the whole young gang?
Yeah, man. Yeah, they're hot right now, but this is baseball. Things would look totally different by July.
True, but do you like their chances in the NL West better than the Diamondbacks or Dodgers or even the shit show of the Padres?
I like them better than the Diamondbacks. Not so much the other teams because they can make a run at any point.
It's kind of feeling like the Dodgers, though, are just kind of playing low right now to go get Shohei in the offseason.
Yeah, or at the deadline. But
I don't know, man. When you put up 25 runs, it's kind of hard to trade that guy.
yeah, but he didn't even do anything in that game.
I know, but they're winning right now. Like if you can't trade him if they're in the hunt for a wild card berth.
Yeah, no, you can't do that. But again, baseball, you never know. The next month is going to determine a lot.
In the words of Joe Biden, baseball. All right. On that note, we'll see you guys on Saturday. What do we say? Noon? A good nooner?
Yeah, I'm down for that.
All right. We'll go over all the NBA fuckery and see if Draymond Green returns to the Warriors by then. But until then, Steven, happy birthday.
Thanks.
Sorry I forgot or didn't even know. And say what you always say.
It's just your opinion, man. I don't know what that was.